The silence across the Mojave Desert was nearly absolute, broken only by the dry wind lifting dust into the burning air. The blazing sky reflected off the scorched yellow metal of an abandoned Camaro, parked among rocks and cactus. But the car wasn't empty. It was asleep. Hidden. Breathing electronically. Bumblebee kept his systems to a minimum, concealing himself from any radar or signal. There was no music, no artificial voice. Just his thoughts, memories that refused to go quiet. Flashes of battles, loss, silent screams. Time had passed, but the scars burned deep in his neural core, like the craters on Cybertron. He'd been alone for months. Since the fall of the Autobots during the last offensive in Chicago, everything had changed. Optimistic and loyal, Bumblebee believed until the very end that Earth could be a home again. But he was betrayed. Not by enemies but by those he had sworn to protect. It was the humans who began hunting him. After the city's destruction and the revelation that Transformers were still operating in secret on Earth, the government activated Protocol Zero. Any Cybertronian lifeform Autobot or Decepticon was to be terminated. No trial. No conversation. Just eradication. Wheeljack was the first to fall, taken out in an airstrike. Then Archie, captured and dismantled piece by piece in a secret facility in Alaska. Bumblebee tried to regroup the survivors, but there were none. When he infiltrated a base to rescue Ratchet, he was met with missiles and betrayal. By someone he once called friend, Colonel Lennox. The same hand that once guided him now pulled the trigger. From that day, he vanished. Became a shadow in the dark. Humans began calling him Yellow Ghost, like he was a virus, a mechanical plague that shouldn't exist. Digital billboards flashed his image. Hunted and dangerous. Shoot on sight, but B didn't shoot back. Not yet. The first crack in his moral code happened in Phoenix. A tactical squad located him in an abandoned scrapyard. They came silently, with EMP grenades and hovering drones. They didn't want to negotiate. The moment the first grenade landed, Bumblebee reacted too strongly. Instinctively, he destroyed 3 military vehicles and seriously injured 2 soldiers. He didn't kill them, but he came close. When he saw their blood on the concrete, his hands trembled. The same hands that had saved countless lives were now a threat. He disappeared for days after that, consumed by guilt. But something shifted inside him. It wasn't just anger. It was exhaustion. Humans saw him as a threat. Decepticons saw him as a traitor. And the Autobots? There were none left to call him brother. Optimus was gone. Probably dead. Bumblebee was nothing now, just static. One night, hiding in the ruins of an old Nest outpost, he found archived files. Audio logs. One contained a voice he hadn't heard in years. Sam Witwicky. B, you've always been more than a machine. You saved me when no one believed in me. Asterisk, you don't need to speak. I get it. I always did. Bumblebee played the clip in a loop until his memory core began to fail. He couldn't cry, but his cooling system malfunctioned. That was the closest he could get to tears. And that night, he made a decision: he wouldn't be the same anymore. If the world wanted to see him as a threat, he'd show them that threats can still have a conscience. Over the next months, he began striking secret military labs that stored Cybertronian tech. He didn't kill, but he destroyed everything: satellites, surveillance systems, drone fleets. Each time, he left behind a burned Autobot symbol carved in the concrete. A message that they weren't extinct. He was a vengeful ghost with the soul of a hero. But not everyone believed that anymore. During a broadcast at the UN, the President of the United States declared, Bumblebee, known as a former Autobot, is now officially classified as a Class 1 mechanical terrorist. He is no longer an ally. He is a rogue machine. The message spread across the planet. Mercenary groups began selling weapons to hunt him. That's when the Titan Hunters emerged, ex-military operatives equipped with salvaged Autobot armor, cybernetic weapons, and revenge in their eyes. The night that marked the beginning of the end, Bumblebee was hiding beneath Detroit in the ruins of an old energy research lab built on Allspark remnants. He had come to shut it down before the humans unleashed something they couldn't control. But it was a trap. The Titan Hunters were waiting. The first blast tore through his shoulder like molten rage. The pain wasn't physical, it was deeper. They were using Decepticon-grade weaponry, modified with Earth tech. He could barely stand. And then, he heard it. A voice familiar, broken, coming from the squad leader's speaker. Hello, old friend. Did you really think you could keep fighting forever, alone? Bumblebee froze. That voice, it was someone he thought long dead. The voice echoed through the speakers of the abandoned factory, metallic yet unmistakable. Bumblebee struggled to rise despite his damaged internal servos. The building's lights flickered, and his sensors buzzed in alert. You can't be alive. he whispered through weak electromagnetic waves. His voice, though digital, carried disbelief. From atop one of the industrial platforms, a figure descended wrapped in a humanoid exoskeleton partially fused with cybernetic tech. Not a full transformer, half man, half machine, but the eyes, those eyes burned like before. It was Cliffjumper. Or at least what remained of him. You left me to die, B. While you ran, I screamed for help. You never came. Bumblebee froze. Memory scrambled. He recalled the mission on Mars years ago, where he and Cliffjumper were ambushed by Decepticons. He'd sworn his brother-in-arms had been disintegrated, but here he was. Twisted, altered, reborn, in a way, but filled with hate. They rebuilt me. The humans, Cliffjumper said, stepping forward slowly with creaking metal limbs. They gave me a second chance. And you know what I saw? That you condemned us all with your weakness. Your hesitation. Your obsession with humanity. Bumblebee tried to speak, but his vocalizer faltered. He only stood and took a step forward, signaling a truce. Cliffjumper reacted violently. With a sudden motion, he whipped a crackling energy lash that struck Bumblebee's shoulder, throwing him against a concrete wall. Shards flew. The impact shook the ground. They say you're a traitor. A ghost who destroys stations and kills innocents. But I know who you really are. Cliffjumper stalked closer, like a predator. You're a mistake. An Autobot who forgot what war means. Bumblebee remained silent. Then, against all instinct, he deactivated his pulse weapon. He didn't want to fight. Not his brother. But Cliffjumper wanted to kill. Their brutal battle began. It was not a fight between enemies, but a war between past and present. Between idealism and disillusionment. Every strike was a memory. Every hit tore open old wounds. Bumblebee resisted more than he attacked. He used the environment pipes, columns, beams trying to contain Cliffjumper without killing, but the other fought without restraint, aiming to end it. And nearly did. In a moment of distraction, Cliffjumper hurled him toward the factory's central reactor. The energy discharge destabilized all Bumblebee systems. He collapsed, lights flickering. A total failure was imminent. Then he saw something. Near the rubble, a group of human children prisoners, bound and unconscious. The Titan hunters were using them as bait, as shields, to force Bumblebee to surrender or go berserk. His cybernetic heart burned with outrage. They don't know what monsters are, but I will show them. Something inside broke, or awoke. His energy flared gold. His eyes glowed brighter than ever. Combat systems long sealed after Cybertron's war reactivated. An extreme defense protocol, Orion Shade. It was a version Bumblebee had sworn never to use. Lethal. Merciless. He rose, faster than Cliffjumper could react. With a spin, he disarmed the energy whip, leapt through the structure, dodging missiles with gravity-defying acrobatics. A mechanical roar echoed, startling even the hunters on the upper floors. But even in his deadliest form, Bee's focus was clear: rescue the children. Free them. Get them out of hell. He did. With surgical precision, he cut their bindings and led them to safety. Then returned not for revenge but to finish what needed to be done. Cliffjumper, wounded, tried to rise. His eyes now showed something beyond rage, fear. You shouldn't have come back. You should have left me dead. Bumblebee knelt before him, raised his head, then extended a hand. Even now, after everything, he still wanted to save. Cliffjumper hesitated, but pain was stronger than memory. In a last act, he tried to trigger a bomb strapped to his chest, a cybernetic fragmentation charge that would destroy them both. Bumblebee was faster. With a precise plasma blast, he destroyed the bomb's core and deactivated Cliffjumper, who went limp with an electronic groan. The fight was over. But the distant sirens told another war was coming. Bumblebee vanished before troops arrived. Hours later, media reports called it the Factory Massacre. They said the savage Autobot destroyed everything, kidnapped children, and raised advanced technology. No mention of the hunters. No word about Cliffjumper. No truth. Bee watched the broadcast from a ruined building, hidden, alone, broken, his chassis still smoking, and his eyes no longer shone like before. For the first time, he asked himself, am I really becoming what they fear? The answer was coming soon, because a new figure had landed on Earth, silently watching Bumblebee's every move. A renegade Decepticon, an enemy from the past. He knew every weakness of Bee. His name was Dreadwing, and he had a plan. 3 weeks had passed since the battle at the Detroit factory. The name Bumblebee was now on every news outlet across the planet. Accused of terrorism, kidnapping, destruction, and attempted murder, he had become the symbol of the alien threat humanity swore to fight. But no one knew the truth. Hunted by satellites, drones, and mercenaries, Bumblebee took refuge deep underground in New York in forgotten subway tunnels where even surveillance machines dared not venture. There, he slowly repaired his systems, processing data, trying to understand why he still fought. His days were filled with silence, with memories, with voices from a past that still called him a hero, while the present spat his name like venom. One such night, he felt an ancient atmospheric collapse, a vibration like an echo from another era, the kind of energy only a powerful transformer could emit when breaking through the atmosphere. His sensors picked up a cryptic pattern, a dead signal long forgotten since Cybertron's fall, a signature that froze his circuits. Dreadwing, one of the most feared Decepticon generals, tactical, precise, and now, back. But strangely, he came alone. No fleet, no army, no Megatron, just him, as if for a single purpose. Be knew. This was personal. The next morning, a clandestine call broke through human security networks, a brief transmission on old Autobot command channels. It was clear. Bumblebee, last chance, last battle, last truth, coordinates, remote, in the Rocky Mountains, far from human eyes. B hesitated for less than a second. By dawn, he was on his way. His body was still damaged, half his tactical systems compromised, but he couldn't back down. Not for glory, not for revenge, but because he had to know. Why now? Why Dreadwing? Why was he alive when so many were not? The sky above the Rockies was clear, but the air pulsed. At the exact coordinate, he found only an open field, marked with Cybertronian symbols scorched into the earth with fire and energy. In the center stood the warrior, Dreadwing. He was bigger, darker. His arms gleamed with technology B had never seen, amalgamations of fallen Decepticon tech. He carried not just weapons but an idea, a mission. You were the heart of the Autobots, Bumblebee. His voice was cold. But when the heart is corrupted, the whole body decays. B said nothing. He slowly transformed into his battle mode. Didn't activate his cannon. Just watched. Waiting for something. Dreadwing continued, I've been watching. Since Cybertron fell. Since Prime's silence. You tried to be a hero among worms. Tried to save a species that rejected you. And in the end, you became what you feared most. You became one of them. With a mechanical roar, Dreadwing attacked. The ensuing battle was apocalyptic. Dust rose for miles. Rocks were tossed like paper. Explosions blinded the sky. Every exchanged blow was a collision of worlds, the old Autobot code against a new brutal survival doctrine. Dreadwing was relentless, cold, and, at times, honest. You lost your essence, B. He shouted mid-fight. You want to protect humans, but they don't want you. You want to follow the code, but the code died with Prime. Bumblebee resisted. Not out of hate. Because even faced with brutal truth, he still believed. Then, in the middle of the fight, Dreadwing made a mistake. He aimed his weapon at a group of human climbers approaching in the distance drawn by the light. They had nothing to do with this. They were in the wrong place at the wrong time. See how fragile they are. See how you hesitate for them. That's why you will never win. At that moment, he did not hesitate. In a desperate leap, he blocked the shot with his own body. He was hit square in the chest and slammed into a stone wall. His sensors shut down, systems went offline one by one, but he was still standing. Then something happened. His main memory core, damaged since the Chicago mission, rebooted. A sequence of files unlocked. Images of Prime, of Sam, of RAF. The earliest days. The final message from Optimus that had never been decoded. The leader's voice echoed inside him, if we fall, B, let you be the spark that reignites hope. Even alone, even hated. Because we are not what they say we are. We are what we choose to protect. Bumblebee's eyes glowed an intense blue. His body felt lighter. Sharper. As if something had finally been accepted within him. He rose one last time. And with clean, precise moves, he defeated Dreadwing. He didn't kill him. Just disarmed and knocked him to his knees. For the first time, the Decepticon looked at Bumblebee with respect and fear. You aren't a common soldier, Dreadwing whispered. You are the last Autobot. B replied, with his voice. Not synthesized, not clipped, but real. I am what remains of us. Afterward, B left Dreadwing for the humans not as revenge, but as witness. So the truth could spread. Then he disappeared. Some say he died after the battle, consumed by energy overload. Others swear they saw him in forgotten villages, quietly protecting children, silently preventing accidents. A mechanical myth. But what remained, beyond the ashes, was the message. Bumblebee was no classic hero. No villain. He was what the world needed, though the world never thanked him. And on the stone slab where the final battle occurred, someone once wrote, the machine who fought like a monster, but protected like a man.